Hello, Five Finance family. Welcome to Flip It with Samara. So excited to have the conversation that we're going to have tonight because I feel like it's something that all entrepreneurs and even those who are just working a 9 to 5 can definitely relate to the need to have some me time, right? So, for the month of September, we're going to be talking about time. Time is value, time management, how we use our time effectively. So it's just going to be conversations around time. And so to help me out, I'm going to be having on various guests throughout the month, talking to about their personal experiences as it relates to time, whether it's in the entrepreneurial realm or it's working a corporate job. So we want to make sure that we get a broad view on how people utilize time in different areas of their lives. So, if you are with me, let me know that you are here. So, I would like for you to say hello, give me some hand waves. Let me know that you can hear me loud and clear by dropping a mic icon in the comments so that I understand like who is in the audience with us tonight. And we actually have our guest in the audience tonight, Wave Enterprise. And so we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, let me give you the proper introduction of what this show is all about, right? So, here on Flip It, we have created a safe space for us to talk about all things tax planning, right? So, we want to flip the narrative on how we view and use the power, the tool of tax planning, not only in our personal lives, but also in our business aspect, right? So, we stand on the motto that the wealthy don't start tax planning once they become wealthy, but rather use tax planning as a tool to grow their wealth. So, with that in mind, we understand that we meet you no matter where you are on your financial journey, right? So we want you to know that this is a safe place. We want you to be engaged. We want you to ask questions. We welcome your questions throughout the live, all right? And we'll be sure to address those questions throughout the live, okay? So be engaged, answer your question, ask your questions, and definitely leave your comments throughout the live. All right. So I'm super excited for the guests that we have on tonight. It is a husband and wife team. So I can definitely relate to this because, Five Finance is founded on a husband and wife team as well. Although you see my beautiful face every week, my husband definitely puts in the work, and he is the reason why I can come before you week over week. So he is just as much important as I am and making sure that Five Finance as a whole is successful. So I love when I'm able to connect with another husband and wife team who is doing the thing, right? And when I tell you Lawrence and Gina are doing the thing, y'all are going to be so jealous when we show you where they are, right? But before we get into that, I want to make sure that we say hello to the people in the comments. So, Wayne, thank you so much. Yes, Wayne Andrews says your husband is dope, and he should know because that is my husband. Um, Karen, hello. How are you? Again, Wave Enterprise is in the chat. Hello, hello, hello. Samurai is in the chat. Hello, Samurai. How are you? So, thank you so much for everyone who has joined. So, again, we have a special guest or guest in the live tonight who are going to be walking us through time management or as it pertains to them, like the importance of me time. So, this couple I had the opportunity of meeting in a Facebook group. And what I thought was super dope is not only are they a husband and wife team that are running a successful business, but they're doing it abroad, which is something that a lot of people I feel like want to do eventually, but just don't know where to start and are a little scared. And I know for me, I have thought about traveling abroad and maybe living abroad for some point, maybe not the whole year, but for a few months out of the year, but never met someone who was doing it and actually doing it successfully. So meeting them and having the opportunity to talk to them, I thought was super dope in itself. And then when they agreed to come on the show, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be bananas. So Without further ado, I want to bring to the stage Lawrence and Gina. Welcome, Lawrence and Gina.
Hi.
Hello,
Okay, y'all.
everybody.
Let's take a minute. I know now people that are listening to the podcast, y'all don't get the full effect, but you definitely have to check out the YouTube video to get the full effect. If y'all can see, like there's a lot of greenage in the background, right? It looks so serene. Look at that. Look at that. It's like you can just feel the low key vibe. Like it's beautiful, y'all. I'm telling you. Every time I talk to Lawrence and Gina, I'm in a better mood. And then their smiles are infectious too. Y'all can't see that if you're listening to the podcast, but beautiful smiles. Just beautiful people. So, please introduce yourselves.
Well, I'm Gina,
And I'm Lawrence.
and we run Wave Enterprise Co., a boutique audiovisual studio, and we service mostly female entrepreneurs in the wellness space. And we do podcast management and we do social media management as well to increase brand awareness.
Yes. Currently in Guatemala. Enjoying
Yes.
it.
Did y'all hear that? Guatemala? Oh Lord. So I feel like so before we went live, they were like, "Well, it's raining, and we don't know if it's gonna mix the audio." And I'm like, "I love the rain. Like, don't stop it. Like the rain is soothing to me." So definitely a little jealous tonight. But I digress. We're gonna get through this. But you're gonna show us, or at least share with us, how you're able to do this successfully abroad. So definitely, Five Finance Family, you all are in for a treat. So without further ado, we're gonna jump right into it, if that's okay with you both.
Let's
So I
get it.
first want to start by saying, like, tell us what you were doing before you embarked on this journey, and then tell us like what pushed you to the point where saying, yeah, I want to do this entrepreneurship role, and not only do I want to do entrepreneurship, but I want to do it abroad.
I'll let
Yeah,
you I'll let you do
well,
that.
I was a third grade teacher and he was in sales. And it just so happened that I was 4 years in teaching, had a lot of gray hairs, and I was just like, okay, I got to do something else. The way that I was teaching and the lifestyle and everything just wasn't aligning with where I saw myself being. And so I just came home one day and I was like, let's move somewhere. Like, we got to leave this place. Like, we just got to go somewhere new.
I was like, okay, where? We didn't know. We just looked at the map. We started doing some research. Our first thought was the Philippines.
We were like looking at the map at all these islands, like, ooh, where can we go?
So we started looking at vlogs on YouTube. It's beautiful there. Nobody
Yeah.
really talks about it. So we're like, it's kind of different. It's new. They speak English, so let's
Yeah.
let's do it. I was all on board.
Mhm.
It took some planning. That probably took 6 to 8 months in a concise story. We did some planning and
Mhm.
planned around it, and we made the move. We quit our jobs,
Packed
moved
our bags into 4 suitcases,
four
brought our
suitcases,
cat. We
Wow.
actually gave away like
all our stuff.
mostly everything,
Yeah,
and it felt so good to just give things away. And like, you don't realize like you have like 7 different coffee cups, but it's like you don't really need that.
Right.
And just giving away so many things frees up your space spiritually, mentally, for other things to flow in. And so we lined ourselves up with online jobs before we went to the Philippines. And I was again teaching online, but once we got to Manila,
the Wi-Fi was awful,
yeah.
and the online English class wasn't sustainable. So you
Mm,
know, Wave Enterprise was established already as like music, audio engineering. That piece was already something I started.
Hmm.
right.
Once the teacher thing, the internet, she's been teaching.
Yeah.
She went to school for teaching.
And I just remember like crying one day, like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't, I went to school for this, I'm in debt for this, and like, this is all I know. So I didn't know what else I could be doing. And also, I look at him and he has music, he's always had football. So
Mm,
he's had these different things to kind of fall back on. And I think that's what's scary with some people in changing careers is like
The
not knowing.
identity crisis. It's
Yeah.
if you're tied to something and your identity is tied to it. So I
Hmm.
saw her go through this, but that was a blessing in disguise because It's like, okay, so we have this free time on our hands.
Hmm.
She started creating graphics. She started making
Yeah, he
just
was like,
making
"We
stuff.
need a website." So I started like, "Ooh, how can I make a website?"
In
And
context, this is middle of 2019,
Right.
some
yeah.
time ago, and so between then and now, fast forward, we've been creating every day since then together,
Hmm.
That's dope.
building our business, and we're full steam ahead right now. It's a blessing.
That is a blessing. And I feel like the timing probably had a big effect on what you were wanting to do or what next steps you were going to take too. I feel like a lot of people,
Hmm.
there was this, what do you call it, like this mass exodus from corporate America in
Hmm.
2020 because of everything that was going on. And so people were saying, well, wait a minute. You're telling me that I can work remote? Well, then maybe I can do what I really want to do remote.
Yep.
Because honestly, that's when I made a decision too, to do my business full time. So, like, I think it takes a lot of planning, but it also takes a lot of courage, to
Hmm.
say, you know what, I'm gonna bet on me. 'Cause, I mean,
Hmm.
that's what we did, right? Like, that's what you did, that's what I did. We said, "You know what? I'm gonna bet on me, and we're going to step out on faith, and we're going to, be successful. We're gonna do this." And look at where we are. Well, look at where you guys are in paradise. So
Hmm.
so
22 was the year to bet on yourself.
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, and I feel like we're definitely reaping the rewards now. So I love like the story, and I love the fact that you had enough courage to bet on yourselves because you made the right bet. So in doing that, right, I'm sure that there were some complexities, nuances in not only being an entrepreneur but also doing it abroad. So talk
Hmm.
to us about like what that made you do with your finances. Did you have to do kind of like a strict budget? Like how did you manage finances and your time with now not only being an entrepreneur but then doing this overseas?
Hmm.
Well, I would say it was a gradual process. Like when we were back in Atlanta, still working at our job, we were looking at alternative ways to earn money, like forex trading and things like that.
Right.
And so we were reading up on all these things. We were listening to like Jim Rohn and different audiobooks
We
and stuff.
changed our whole programming about finances first. We
Yeah.
changed our foundational just philosophies around money,
Hmm.
both individually and then together.
Yeah.
And
And there's a book called The Millionaire Mindset by T. Harv, and it actually walks you through talking about each other's, if you're a couple, your money
yeah,
mindset and how your childhood experiences like play
Mhm.
into that. And for example, like when I was younger, people would give me money like in a card, right? And my dad would always take it because he thought I would spend it, so he would save it for me. But that kind of taking like set me up to like want to spend money or not be able to like
or
manage it as
right. So
well.
that kind of manifested later on in our relationship where she would never look at the accounts and
Yeah.
she would
Mm.
so like because her dad would always take care of the money so she like
Hmm.
so we both had these little things that came from childhood that we sat down, we kind of did took some time, but
Hmm.
that was first thing. And then actually like finances is a mental, physical, spiritual thing. So physically doing it, actually putting the 10% every check, paying yourself first and
Hmm.
physically making these buckets, maybe automating something. And there's there's a part of our story that we haven't told much, but this was um, a big part of it. And this was while she was teaching and I was working. I got into a near fatal accident, and she was at she was at work. I called her. I was like, "Babe, I just got in an accident.
He was like, I got an offender
My
bender.
car was smashed in half, and I was out of
Wow.
work for a year. I'm so grateful to still be alive. I look at the pictures, reminder, and I had this year to just like reflect. And that's when she was starting that because I'm away from corporate America for a year. Like I'm off the grid,
Right.
and I'm so she's coming home straight from school, and I'm detached from everything, and I'm seeing what her school environment's doing to her, and
Mhm.
Wow.
that's when she's like, "Wow, this is kind of." So
Mhm.
we moved. There's a settlement involved because it wasn't my fault, and then that actually hit maybe 6, 7 months after we moved to the Philippines.
Wow.
So this was around the time of the identity crisis, which was a blessing,
Mhm.
and
So although it was a bad situation and it was terrible to be in, it was also a blessing in disguise.
Right.
side note, the accident happened a day after I started just like going hard on financial development. I wrote on the wall, I do terrific work in an amazing way. I have phenomenal service for an abundance of pay. And I'm like getting geared to just like change my mindset about money. The very next day I get into this accident. This is not a lie. This is not
Wow.
very next day.
Mm.
And I forget about this because it was over a year and a half, 2 years since we saw the settlement. But like, it was hard because she was the only one working. And, there was a lot of challenges there. But
Right.
once it did happen, like, we stopped using credit cards. We're overseas. So we're like, let's just live off what we have,
Yeah.
Mm.
make this. And we were feeding ourselves with stuff during that year, 2 year span where
Yeah.
we didn't just blow it. We were
And
very,
because when you only like spend what you have, like you might change your decision. Like, okay, I
There you
don't
go.
need, extra
mhm,
snack, or I don't need whatever it
mhm.
is. And
Yep.
so we kind of changed that while being in this
And
process.
we use that settlement as a great practice because this is a couple years ago. So now we're doing, but without that, we
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have built the time that like the space for her to create every day and like
Mm-hmm.
not have worry. Like
Right.
that was the
Yeah.
biggest thing. And
And I will say too that, moving somewhere else where the cost of living is very cheap is also a blessing because, we're making US dollars and the settlement was in US dollars as well. So we are able to stretch it and
Mm.
think about making money for a little bit of
the
time.
Philippines is so beautiful, but so cheap. Like,
Hmm.
Right.
oh man.
Right. No,
Before
and
we start,
right. And when you think about it, right, that's why companies set up shop in other countries because of that same advantage, right? You can get labor cheap, you can get the land cheap, you can get the building cheap, you can get the supplies cheaper. And so they choose to set up shop in a place that's going to be most advantageous for their bottom line. So why
Right.
not take advantage of that as a small business owner, right? And so you get to have this beautiful scenery, which is not only like edifying like your spiritual and your physical being, but then you also get the benefit of, having that time to pour into the things that are important to you and grow your business, which is also edifying that financial aspect of your wholeness. So,
Mhm.
absolutely inspiring story. And you held that back, Lawrence. You didn't tell me that when we first met, but truly
Surprise.
inspiring story. And I am so grateful that you are still with us. Like, such a
oh man,
blessing, and definitely does like let us all know that you're here for a purpose. So
Mhm.
we just pray that you continue to walk in that purpose every day, sir, because you're definitely here for a purpose.
I received
Um,
that.
so we have some comments, some people in the comments. So Casey is with us. He said we must change our mind and our money concept, and that is a true statement. You absolutely have to change that money and that mind. That the way we look at money. We had a guest on a few months ago, and she was talking about your money story. And so when you were talking, Gina, about like reading up on different things, like that's what it reminded me of. She shared with us like how our money stories are created, and it sounds like you two had different money stories, which is similar to me and my husband. So there was a lot of work that had to be done, right, to put us on the same page. But it definitely plays a part on how we view and use money today. So here at Finance, we meet you where you are, but we want to help you kind of change that story, right, for the better. So we do have a question. So Samurai is asking, how did your family react when you made the decision to leave and live abroad?
That's a question.
I'll let you start with that one
My
as
family
well.
was super mad. They were like, "What are you doing? People are dying in the Philippines. Like, why are you not teaching?" You know, especially because I wasn't teaching too. I think, starting a business is a whole thing, and moving abroad is a whole thing. So like we just like
We did
shot
all
all
that
of it at
and threw
everybody.
that at everybody, and we got mixed. My folks were kind of, they were supportive, they were intrigued. You know, they're, both of our parents are about to be empty nesters, so they're like, okay, like, that's cool. What's up? So
Yeah.
Right.
they're more intrigued. They actually visited us while we were in the Philippines, which is cool.
Yeah.
See,
But
and
more so on, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say more so on her side was the protection, because she's the girl, and
Mm,
Yeah, I actually didn't talk to my parents for a good year because they just couldn't like fathom what I was doing.
mm.
And so I had to protect my space and our space while we were growing. And
mm,
so I just didn't talk to them. We're good now. But
better than we were. But
yeah,
while
that's
we
the
were
thing.
building the foundation, she was especially protecting that space, because there were influences, not just them, that were just like, we're living somewhere, and
Like, you
then,
shouldn't be doing that, or what
right,
are you going to be, what are you doing? Or,
and then COVID hit, which was what made some of that protection go even harder. Like, come back
Right.
home,
Right.
home. We're
yeah.
just like,
Yep.
nah, worse there.
And I get it. I mean, I can definitely relate, Gina, because there's some people that you have to like take a break from to protect
Hmm.
your space, not only you mentally, but then also the relationship that you're trying to like foster and grow in
Hmm.
that of your husband. So
Hmm.
you already understand that, hey, this is not going to be a cakewalk. Yeah, we understand we're moving out of the country, but what I don't need is all this negativity coming at me right now. So if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. That's the approach that I would have probably taken too. But like kudos for doing it successfully. And how long have you been out of the state now? Out of the states?
Since
Middle of
2019.
2019,
Yeah.
so almost 3.5 years now, or
S-
coming up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super dope. So now walk us through like what does an average day look like? Because we are talking about time management for the month of September. And
Mhm.
I know my personal story when I started, this entrepreneurial journey. It was hard for me to find ways to manage my time effectively and in a way that was healthy, right? Like I've when I was working in corporate America, I worked long nights. Sometimes I wouldn't come to bed until 11, 12 o'clock. And then when I started my own business, it became even longer. And then the weekends, and my husband's like, oh, wait a minute now. I didn't sign up for this. He was like, I didn't sign up for this. So I had to find like that good, healthy balance, right? So walk us through like what your day looks like, and then we'll touch on maybe some of the things that you had to implement to find that healthy balance when it comes to time management as well.
Love it.
I mean, something that we do in the morning is have a morning routine. So we wake up, we do Duolingo, so we're learning Spanish, and then we usually read or listen to an audiobook of some sort or YouTube, something motivational. I think, for anyone who can't be like in a different country, just listening to something or like a podcast like this one in the
Hmm.
morning just to get you fired up and excited about your day.
Your mornings are your anchor, and
Hmm.
we've found it consistently, having a good anchor during your day, whether, and on an entrepreneurial journey, things come up, meetings come up, things might
Hmm.
disrupt your flow, but having something,
Hmm.
having something, and then we check over our to-dos, because our things are usually planned out a week before, a month before
And
at this
before
point.
that, he's got me doing like 5 minute abs or
Get the
like
body
six
moving.
minute squats. And so for me, like sometimes it's like pulling teeth to work out, but if it's only like 5 minutes, I'm like, okay, Gina, you got to do this thing for 5 minutes.
Then we're
So
pumped for the day. Then it's
yeah.
like, all right, what do we got? What do we
Hmm.
got? And it really does help we're blessed to be in this beautiful space in this yoga retreat. We can look out and see this lush greenery, and
Hmm.
that really does help our mental space. But
Right.
just the morning routine alone is the anchor.
Yeah.
Then we get into our deep work, which looks a number of things because we have a lot of different projects going on. But
Hmm.
the morning routine is the anchor. The rest of the day, kind of take it as it comes, and then the evening we reset again and plan our day for tomorrow and see where we're at.
Hmm.
Now, because both of you are in the business and running the business together, like, do you have like a hard cutoff for your day? And then throughout the day, like, let's say past the morning, do you make time for, like, let's say we're gonna have lunch together, or where, hey, we got a hard stop at 5:30 or 6 p.m. You know what I mean? Like, how does
Yeah.
that look?
I hard stop better than her.
Usually it's when we eat dinner, like a huge bowl of pasta. We're like, okay, we cannot possibly work after
We're
this.
done.
So usually dinner is like
Dinner's
our
usually the
stop.
cutoff.
Yeah.
Yep.
In between, we kind of just eat on. We don't eat on the go, but like
Right.
lunch, breakfast, and lunch is kind of just like
Mush together.
mushed together. But
Listen, that's hey, the life of an entrepreneur. So I could definitely relate. But it sounds like though, like you have found that anchor, and that's what's important is to start your day off right. So
Hmm.
for me, I like to do the same thing. I have to take some me time. I need a minute. I need a minute to myself to get this mind right before I can motivate myself to say I'm gonna start my day. And I know, Gina, that you're not a fan, but exercising actually helps. Like, not only does it get your body moving, but it also like it wakes your mind up too. So like when I exercise, I notice that my day goes a lot better, and maybe it's me getting some stress out. I don't know, but it definitely helps. Like it definitely makes for a better planned day, I should say.
Yes.
So that is awesome. I'm sure that it helps also having that beautiful scenery. But we have a comment. So Samara says Samara has to have her coffee or it's going to be trouble. Yes, this is a true statement. I didn't think that he was going to out me on social media, but it's it's a true statement. I drink coffee for those around me, not for myself. That's a true statement. So we do have one question. Wayne is asking, what countries have you lived in and how did the cost of living vary from place to place?
great question. The first was the Philippines, which is
Yeah.
by far the cheapest.
I think
The
we paid like maybe 400 for rent
for
for like it was a studio, like it was overlooking the
beautiful.
ocean, and like we had our own beach, and it was
The
amazing.
the conversion is 50 pesos to a dollar in the Philippines.
Hmm.
Oh my
So you can
gosh.
get a beer for like 50 pesos,
And like
30
we're like
pesos.
riding around the island. They have like it's basically a golf cart, and it's like maybe what
It's like their Uber
30
was like
cents
10 pesos, 20 pesos. So it's super cheap in the
Yeah.
Philippines.
Wow.
So when we got back to Chicago, like
We
over
took
the
an Uber
summer,
from
it
O'Hare
was a
to the
$100.
suburbs.
I was
We're
like,
like,
what?
oh my God.
You're like, this
But
is
that's
bananas. I'm going back overseas.
what we could do with $100 in the Philippines.
Oh man.
Right.
So then earlier this year was Mexico
Yeah.
and the tacos. Oh man. But the
Mexico is amazing, and we did two workaway programs. So anyone
yes.
watching who doesn't know what workaway is, it's basically an exchange where you work for a free stay. And so we worked at a
Dope.
hostel, and we did their social media, and we got a free stay. Our cat loved it too. Everybody loved
Free
her.
stay and food. So anybody who's like, I want to travel, but I don't have money, or I just have money to survive, like you can do a workaway. It's very approachable. The people on there are trustworthy, and
Hmm.
you
That's
could
dope.
live. It's really
Yeah.
cool. It's really
And it's a
cool.
good way to like build your skills. Like if you want to get into a certain field, but maybe you don't have so much experience, you can kind of like work on your craft that way
Yeah,
and
Right.
travel.
That's
Mexico.
dope. I've never heard of
Yeah.
that concept, workaway. So,
Yeah,
like, I mean, is there a certain website that you go to find these opportunities? Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so it's an app, and you just make a profile, and then you can search basically any country and any skill. Like for example, there's some people looking for like agricultural work, like if you want to help them grow a garden, or maybe they're constructing a house, or maybe you're doing digital marketing like us. And so I mean, you could easily become obsessed with it.
Yeah, and the question is, how do you make a workaway profile? It's an app. You just make a profile,
Mm-hmm.
search the country. You can search by skill, search what people are looking for. A lot of cases, people are giving you room and board, food.
Mm-hmm.
Some cases they're paid. Like you could just kind of sift through and find stuff. It's
Yeah.
really cool. And to answer the price question, it was 20 pesos to one in Mexico, so a little more expensive than the Philippines,
But definitely not as
but
much as
still
the
cheaper than
US.
the US
Yeah.
and still worth because the street food.
Like tacos are like
Oh
$1 and they're
man.
so good.
Oh my
Yeah.
Yeah.
gosh. Yep.
Okay, so I feel like I need to pack my bags and get on this app and figure out what I'm going to do with my life. I mean, because honestly, it's almost like having a paid vacation. I mean, you get to see like these beautiful places, and all it's going to cost you is your time and your effort. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like that's an okay trade-off.
It
Yeah.
is.
So yeah, definitely thank you for sharing like how someone can get into that. Look, Mr. ITW says, wow, the Philippines. Now that is on my list of visits. So now you know how you can do it, Mr. ITW, right? See if you can visit one of those apps. Is it called the Workaway app? Is that the name of the
Mm-hmm.
app?
Yeah.
Yep. Work
Work
away.
away.
Okay, it's called Workaway app, Mr. ITW. See if you can visit that and see if someone needs is in need of some services you can offer in exchange for a stay. So we always love right sharing those little money saving tips. So thank you so much for sharing that one with the Five Finance family. So let's talk about like three takeaways. All right. So now that you've been on this journey as entrepreneurs right before the pandemic, and then now as expats, right? So you're living outside of the United States. What are three takeaways that you would give the Five Finance audience as it pertains to managing your time in a way that is healthy?
Mm. Well, don't
Hmm.
check social media in the morning or your email.
Yeah. Kind of
I definitely had to work on that at first, and it's not perfect, but I think like because as soon as I open my email, I'm like, oh, I have to answer all these things, and then I get out of my like Zen mode. So
mm,
that's one.
the thing that comes to the top of my head is that's a really good one too. Detoxing from electronics, first hour of the day, part of the morning routine, anchoring.
Mm,
One thing that I've found personally is I'm a creative and I'm not naturally at first the most organized. I've learned how to discipline myself and become
Hmm.
organized. I had to learn my personal way of organization and kind of governing myself. And that started with a journal and making checks. And then that turned into a more refined version of that. And now it's on Google Docs and Asana. But I've learned how to transfer what works for me. Like what works for me wasn't taught in school. I had trouble with stuff in school, but
mm-hmm.
what works for me, I found out, but that took consistency and actually sticking to something long enough to refine it. So one of my
Mm-hmm.
takeaways is find what works for you and stick with it long enough where you can actually fit it, like a glove.
Mm,
You got a third
yeah.
one?
Yeah. I think. Hmm, what was I gonna say?
Well,
I was
it's
just gonna.
definitely like, I'm sorry, while you're thinking, Gina.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So like definitely the not jumping on social media first thing. I feel like everybody needs to hear that, and not just entrepreneurs, because that does put you in a different headspace depending on what you let into your ears and your eyes, right? Your ears and your eyes are the gates, and I feel like you have to be very mindful of what you introduce to them very early on, because it could definitely like change the trajectory of how your day is going to go.
Right.
Because if I pick up social media and God forbid, like months ago when they were having all of these shootings, and I'm like, that just messed up,
Hmm.
like it just messed up my mental space. Like all day, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm in this funk. I feel horrible. I feel depressed. So you don't want to do that. So I love that one of your daily routines is no, we're not even going to look at that. We have to get into a nice Zen space. We have to get our minds right. And so we understand that we have to guard it against certain outside influences. So I hope,
Mhm.
for Finance Family, that you were listening to that, because that is definitely key. And that is probably what some of us are not doing right. And you're wondering why, like, things aren't working throughout the day, or why you get super frustrated throughout the day. And it could be that maybe you just allowed something to influence how the remainder of your day was going to go, unbeknownst to you. So
Mm.
definitely thank you for sharing that. Definitely something that I can implement too, because although preach it, like I'm guilty of it sometimes, especially if
Mhm.
like my husband gets up way before me. So he'll leave and sometimes he'll send a text to say, "Hey, good morning, babe. Hope you have a good day." And so, you pick up the phone, look at the text, and then what happens? Then you see your
Mhm.
notification, you start checking other
Mhm.
Yeah.
things. And so what I had to tell myself is, okay, I can't even look at the phone, period, right? Like I just got to get up, I got to do my morning routine, I got to do my workout, I got to do my meditation, and then I can check his text. So
Yeah.
and that keeps me focused throughout the day. And like I said, booking that time, and then calling out what my times should be. So like I'll have a time in the morning for studying, and it's 2 hours that I allocate to studying, because I'm sitting for oh, I wasn't going to share this, but I'm sharing it now anyways. So I'm
Yeah.
sitting for another exam, so I have time allocated for studying, and then after that I have time allocated for lunch, and then after that, so I'll allocate time throughout the day to keep me focused. But
Mhm.
definitely, if my day doesn't start off right, it's like the rest of the day is just a
Yeah.
snowball effect. I just get thrown off.
Yeah.
So that morning routine is definitely key to being successful, I believe, as an entrepreneur, because I feel that although there's a bunch of books out there, I don't really find a lot of information like on how to properly manage your time as an entrepreneur, right? Like,
And
go ahead.
what do you use for your timer? Do you use like something, or do you just like have a clock watch, or do you have an app or
No,
something?
so no, what I use is I put it on my calendar so that it will notify me 10 minutes before I'm supposed to have that time allocated. So I'm like, okay, let's go. It's about to be 10 minutes before. And then when it's up, I just know to stop. So I just know what my hard cutoff is every day. And then I just stop and keep it moving. Yeah.
Uh, uh,
Yeah. But
I
I have,
remembered what I was gonna say.
what
Oh,
was
sorry.
that?
I said I remember what I was gonna say earlier.
Okay. What is it?
I was just gonna say, like, having a priority list, because a lot of times for me, and I know for entrepreneurs, like piling so much on your list, and I overestimate what I can do in one day,
Mhm.
yep.
and sometimes one thing will take way longer than expected. So just having like, okay, these are the top three things I need to do today. If nothing else happens, like it's gonna be fine.
Yep.
So
That's good.
That is
yeah.
very good. And I definitely did the same thing in corporate America and had to do that in my business too. So every morning I would make a to-do list, like on just this, right? Like I would just get a piece of paper, and I would just make a to-do list for today, and then whatever I didn't get to today, like I just moved it to the next day. Because you're right, Gina, like I feel like you can get overwhelmed if you really like look at especially as an entrepreneur. What people don't understand is you make your own deadline, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like there's not somebody over you that says, "Hey, I need X, Y, and Z by Wednesday, and then I need this by Thursday." It's you have to
Right.
make your own deadlines. And so
Mhm.
sometimes as an entrepreneur, because we have to make our own deadlines, we'll say, "Okay, we're going to do 10 things on Monday." Yeah, right. You make it to 3. And
Really?
so you have to make realistic goals, is what
Mhm.
I'm finding out. So I definitely approach time management from a more realistic aspect now. and definitely planning my day out, like making time for lunch, making time for my studying, making time for, like, other meetings where I'm maybe reviewing something with a colleague. Like, that is what makes the day go by smoother and gives me peace of mind and allows me to sleep at least 5 to 8 hours a night. So, um,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, definitely took a lot of growth and a lot of trial and error to get there. But
Mm.
That's
again,
it.
what was that?
That's it. The trial and error.
Yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's all about trial and error. But overall, like, thank you so much for sharing your experiences. Thank you for giving everybody in the Five Finance community like a little insight to seeing like what living abroad looks like and running your own business abroad. I feel like a lot of people want to take that leap of faith. So this is encouraging, right? To those who are thinking about it. We have Samurai saying, Gina and Lawrence, I do not know you guys, but I'm super proud of you guys. I share that same sentiment. I am super proud of you guys. You guys are doing dope
Thank
things, and it does take a lot of courage to do what you do, and you're being successful at it. So I want to give you opportunity to tell the people how to connect with you.
Yes, of course. Take it away, babe.
you.
Take it away.
Okay. Connect with us on Instagram at Wave Enterprise Co. And that is one E in the middle. And you can also visit our website. It's findyourwave.us. And we have a lot of cool stuff on there.
Yes, we're super active on Instagram. So give us a follow. We'll follow back. Shoot us a DM. If you have questions about content, audio, visual, traveling, or just want to connect and have another connection, we're here for you. And we
Hmm.
really appreciate you having us here. It means a
Oh,
lot.
absolutely. And you have a free consultation or a free, what is it? I'm sorry, discovery
Yes,
call. Yes.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
y'all make sure you visit their website. Can they book the discovery call through your website?
yes, you can do it on
Yes.
Instagram.
Okay, perfect. So make sure that y'all are booking the discovery call to connect with Lawrence and Gina. Y'all saw that website? Like, listen, for those who are listening to the podcast, I need y'all to visit the website because that website is super dope. And it makes you want to be like, it makes you question your life goals and what am I doing wrong? But super dope website, super dope people. Thank you so much for donating your time because we know that your time is valuable. So I appreciate you donating your time tonight just to share with the Five Finance community on the importance of having that me time, the healthy balance that you have created for yourselves in juggling your business and your personal life. So thank you so much, Gina and Lawrence, from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
This has been great.
Yeah. Any parting words that you want to say before we let you go?
I'll have something to say
Yes.
on the travel piece. If anyone is ever thinking about it, and it's not just travel, this is changing your career. This is it's going to fall into place. You make the decision. If it is traveling across the world with no connections, the connections are going to fall into place. If it's a business plan for a new venture that you want to start, it'll fall into place. Just trust it. Trust your gut. It sounds very cliche, but when you live it and you're passionate about how those things do happen, and it works in everybody's life equally the same.
Hmm.
So no one has a shortage of whatever you want to call that energy for you.
Hmm.
We
I
call it,
love it. I love it. Truly inspirational. Well,
thank you.
again, thank you so much for donating your time this evening. I'm going to ask you to wait backstage while I wrap things up and say goodbye to the Five Finance family, but I will see you soon. Thank you so much, Lawrence and Gina. All right, Five Finance family. So what a great opportunity that was to chat with people not only who are entrepreneurs, a couple who is in this entrepreneurial journey, but then also with the aspect of living abroad. definitely an inspiring story. Just hearing, Lawrence and Gina's personal story of how they started their journey, and definitely, shared some cool tips about how you too can try living abroad for a short period of time, or maybe just visiting. So definitely, we will share the links to their website in the chat, as well as the link to the app that they told us about, on how we can kind of test out the waters of traveling abroad, in exchange for some services that we can offer. So a lot of good conversation on tonight. So, definitely, keeping with the theme of time management, we are going to have another guest next week. So, we will have the pleasure of sitting down with Mr. Charles Venus, who is going to walk us through the question of, is my time valued? So Mr. Venus is still in the corporate America world, but then he also does some things on the side. So he has his own business. He's an entrepreneur as well. So we're gonna get into answering the question like, is my time valued? So definitely tune in for a conversation around that on next week, because all this month we're going to be talking about time. And like I said, time is a commodity and it should be valued. So hopefully we are valuing our time accordingly. So if you like the podcast, or you like what you've heard on YouTube, definitely subscribe to our YouTube page. You can hit that like button if you like this particular video, and definitely don't forget to subscribe while you are there. You can also check this out on our podcast. We post this on our podcast every Thursday. This will be up this Thursday, and we are streaming on Audible, Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. So you can search for us under Flip It with Samara, and the channel will come up. If you want to connect with me personally, you can visit my website, www.fivefinance.com, and you can book a free consultation. So all of the consultations are free on the website. So a tax planning consultation, because yes, I am still doing tax planning consultations, and you can also book an accounting consultations. All right, so definitely connect with me there. But again, what a lovely conversation we had with the dynamic duo. That's what I'm gonna call them, the dynamic duo, Lawrence and Gina. Definitely was a great conversation. I know I enjoyed it, and thank you so much, Five Finance family. As always, you were engaging, and thank you for rocking with us on tonight. And so now I'm going to give you back your time and bid you all adieu. But until next time, Five Finance family, you all have a wonderful and blessed Tuesday evening, and we'll see you soon.